Hello, everyone out there in Rumble, X, and YouTube land. Welcome back to Diego Knows. I, of course, am Diego. And today we're going to talk some more about The Housemaid. The Housemaid with Sydney Sweeney and Amanda Seyfried and Brendan Skellner and Elizabeth Perkins and a bunch of other people you never heard of. All right? This low-budget movie, $35 million to make this movie. As of today, oh my God, this movie has made $386 million. Okay, they are big budget superhero movies. Okay, movies that they spent 400 million just to make that movie. Okay, not counting marketing, which you can add about another half of that on there. Okay, that did not make this much money. All right, so this is a definite win. It's modest compared to, big budget movies. Okay, this would be a fail. All right, if this was a big budget movie. Okay, but it's not. It's a low budget movie. It made $35 million. That's how much it cost to make it, and it's made $386 million as of today. It's already on streaming, so people are buying the movie on streaming. You can watch it at home now. Okay, I went to the theater to go see it. Okay, but this movie is definitely a success, so that means we got more Sydney Sweeney coming. A lot more, okay? Those titties have just been unleashed, okay? The only problem is that she's still making movies for women, okay? She's not making anything for men, okay? And that kind of pisses me off because she's a prime candidate for movies that men will go see, okay? Like, I think about Pamela Anderson in the 90s, okay? I mean, that woman, men watched her. They watched Baywatch to see her, okay? I mean, that woman was sexy. Okay, she looks like crap today, but back in the day, she looked incredible. She really did. Okay, very sexy. Okay, the blonde, the boobs, everything. Okay, same thing with Sydney Sweeney here. Although I must say Pamela Anderson did have a better bikini body than Sydney Sweeney does. But hey, you know what? I mean, I'd take both of them still. Okay, not Pamela Anderson. I take the back. Not Pam. I would not take Pamela Anderson today. Okay, I would reject Pamela Anderson today. Okay. Come on, you saw The Naked Gun, right? It came out a few months ago, the new Naked Gun movie with Liam Neeson. And Liam Neeson was dating her in real life. What the hell, dude? What the hell was Liam Neeson thinking dating over-the-hill Pamela Anderson? Okay, I mean, this woman's she doesn't wear makeup anymore. I mean, God. Oh, and you would think, man, Liam Neeson is known in Hollywood for having one of the largest dicks out there. I'm not making that up, dude. He's known in Hollywood for being extremely well endowed, okay? That guy can pick up young, hot women like nothing. All this guy, he don't even have to show his face, just pull it out, dude, and boom. The whole caravan's coming back with him from the club, all right? But, I mean, why would a guy like that publicly date Pamela Anderson? Ugh, But anyway, who cares, right? We're talking about The Housemaid. We're not talking about Liam Neeson. Okay, I'm not reviewing Naked Gun, the new one, all right? I just gave you some new information, didn't I? Okay, but this movie here, directed by Paul Feig. That's his name. Yes, that guy. Okay, he also directed Ghostbusters. Not the good one, not the good ones. Okay, he directed the one from 2016, the female Ghostbuster. Man, they tried to reboot it, but they had got the cast from Saturday Night Live, the women from Saturday Night Live to reboot Ghostbusters, and it flopped big time. It didn't even make as much money as this. It did not even make as much money as this movie, and this movie cost a hell of a lot less. Okay, it cost a hell of a lot more to make that one than this one. Okay, yeah, he directed that piece of crap. He directed it. In fact, something I know is a few years ago they decided to release a HD or 4K, whatever they call it today. Okay, version of the Ghostbusters, and it was going to be all of it was going to be on these not Blu-rays but 4K discs, right? And they had the original Ghostbusters, they had the sequel, and they had the two after sequels. They had the one with the new Ghostbusters, okay, the little girl and all that, okay, the Jewish family, okay, and then they had like the one after that, okay, the one with Paul Rudd, you know what I'm talking about, okay, Ice, whatever, the Ice Age, whatever, Ghostbusters Ice Age, whatever, okay, the one with the little girl, it turns out she's a lesbian, she falls in love with a lesbian ghost, whatever, anyway, yeah, those movies, okay, Yeah, Ghostbusters is dead. All four of those movies were on this 4K disc set, except for Ghostbusters 2016. It was not on there. And Paul Fagg made a really when he saw that there were all these there's four Ghostbusters movies being released in 4K, except for his, he raised a stink shit about this to Sony. He said, "Why the hell is my movie not in there? How come it's only four movies? What about mine? What about my 2016 Ghostbusters? How come it's not included in the 4K release?" And so what they did because of the woke backlash that he gave them, I mean, he shamed them. He told Sony, "Oh my God, this is disgusting. They're sexist. They're misogynist. Okay, it's the patriarchy and all that kind of crap, you know." So Sony decided, okay, tell you what, there'll be like some sort of a bonus feature on the discs where you can go online and you can download Ghostbusters 2016 or something like that. Okay, so they capitulated a little bit. All right, they didn't actually get its own disc, but they capitulated a little bit where they gave you access to Ghostbusters 2016 if you really wanted to see that movie, which nobody did. Okay, but he made that piece of crap. Okay, he also made Bridesmaids, which I actually enjoyed. That movie was good. I'm gonna have to review that one because I liked Bridesmaid. It wasn't a perfect movie, and some of the jokes did not land at all. But for the most part, that movie had something to say. Okay, that movie had some good information in there. It had some good messages in there. Okay, and it had some outrageous characters, some funny situations. You know, I mean, it was pretty good. Yeah, Melissa McCarthy was great in that movie. I mean, that's the movie that put her on the map. That's the movie that made her a thing for like 10 years. Was Bridesmaids. Okay, nothing else she's done before or since. And yeah, I'm talking about Gilmore Girls too. Yeah, she was on that piece of shit show. Okay, nothing she's done before or since has been as good as her performance in Bridesmaids. Okay, and she did a really good job in that one. Okay, that was a good movie. That was a very good movie. Okay, and I'm gonna have to review that one, I guess, if I remember to do it. But yeah, so he did that. So he's not a horrible director. Okay, but clearly he has problems with men. Specifically straight white men. He hates them. Okay, obviously he hates them. He was bullied by them his whole life. You know, which, you know, hey, dude, suck it up, Buttercup. Okay, I mean, I got bullied too as a kid. Okay, and I'm not gay, and I got bullied as a kid. All right, so what the hell, dude? It just happens. It's part of growing up. You know, if you're lucky enough to be born popular or rich or whatever, you know, then you're not going to get bullied, okay? But if you're an outcast, you know, if you're shy, if you're insecure, and you project that, you are going to be easy pickings, okay? I was bullied by boys and girls growing up, okay? So, like, what the fuck? It's just a part of life, you know? You learn from it, okay? You learn not to be one, but also you learn that whatever they were picking on about, whatever they found about me that was weak, that they felt I deserved to get picked on, I dealt with those things, okay? So that didn't happen to me anymore. You see what I mean? Okay. Paul Fagg, yeah, that's his name. His response to all the bullying he received as a kid is to make movies portraying straight white men as all pieces of shit. Okay, they're all sexist, they're all evil, they're all stupid. Okay, and they're all insecure and cowardly. Okay, or a combination of all three. Okay, that's the only kind of men that are represented, not just in these movies, but in Hollywood. Okay, and any movie in Hollywood, any movie and TV shows. Okay, there's lots of YouTube videos on this. Okay, I'm not making this stuff up. Okay, Hollywood has been feminized for a long time. Okay, this whole pro-women crap, all it means is hate men. Okay, men are evil, men are bad. Okay, and that's the reason why you've turned men off to the movies. Men don't want to spend, you know, $25 to go see a movie that tells them that they're a piece of shit. You see what I mean? That tells them that their girlfriend can kick his ass. You see what I mean? Like, who's paying for this fucking date? You or me? Me, right? So why the fuck is this movie telling me I'm a fucking piece of shit? And why are you nodding with it? Okay, who fucking paid for this date? You or me? Exactly. You see what I mean? That's what I'm talking about. All right, and that's the reason that, you know, that Hollywood is bankrupt. Okay, it's going out of business. It's gonna be gone in the next 5 years. Okay, it's because they quit catering to the men. Okay, they went for the woke. They went for the women, the gays, the blacks. Okay, the illegal aliens. Okay, they went for all that stuff. Hate white people. You know, and they ended up turning off their audience. Okay, and people turned away. Okay, not everybody turned away, but enough that they can't make money off of this crap anymore. You see what I mean? And so, you know, and this movie is just another example of that. They can't have talented screenwriters anymore. They can't have talented directors anymore. They can't have talented actors anymore. Okay, everyone has to graduate from these woke Ivy League schools. Everyone has to go to these woke, Juilliard schools, performing arts schools and stuff. Okay, where they just teach you to fucking hate white people. Okay, and they bring that to everything that they do. It's like they're not allowed to do anything else. You know, otherwise they're gonna get blacklisted. Okay, if they go against the message, they're gonna get blacklisted. They're not gonna have any work. All right, and this movie is just another example of that. Okay, it's just another example of hating men. Men are the bad guys in this movie. Okay, the only men that are not bad in this movie, okay, are impotent. They can't do anything to help anyone. Okay, their balls are cut off. They're basically castrated. Okay, they have no agency. They can't do anything. Okay, the evil straight white man. Okay, is he's the victimizer. Okay, he's the one that's oppressing the women. He's the one that's hurting the women. He's abusing them. Okay, he's holding them down against their will. He's manipulating them. He's doing all these terrible things to them. Okay, which means that the women are victims, but then they come back and all of a sudden they're empowered and they're strong and they're boss bitches. And like now they're more powerful than he is. Like, how did that happen? Okay, but that's the message this movie's trying to give you. Contradictory messages. Okay, either you're a strong, tough, independent woman or you're a victim. Okay, depending on what the situation is. Okay, if you want the audience to feel sorry for you, then you're a victim. Okay, but when you're ready for the audience to cheer for you, now you're strong, tough, and independent. It just happens like that with no explanation. Okay, and that makes no sense at all. Okay, this is fan fiction. This is a woman who wrote this story. Okay, with her vibrator in one hand. Okay, and her word processor in the other. Just playing with herself. This is just fan fiction. This is just like a modern day version of Twilight. Okay, ugly girl. In a new school. With no friends, she imagines herself, nobody will sit with her in the lunch table. So what does she do? She looks over the popular kids table with all the good looking kids and she imagines that she's one of them. Okay, boom, there's Twilight right there. Holy shit. And that's what this is. This is just another, this is a woman, a rich, white, privileged, Jewish woman, doctor no less, in Manhattan. Never had to struggle a day in her life. Grew up wealthy. And, she's probably met some men, okay, in her career, maybe at the university, at medical school or whatever, at her hospital that she worked at, whatever, okay, who thought they were everything. She's probably been jilted. She's probably not good looking, okay, and she got screwed over by high value men, okay. She got pumped and dumped, and she's still angry about it. She hates the fact that she was seduced by a super good looking rich man, who told her all the right things, and then used and abused her. Okay, well, in her eyes, okay. He probably just, fucked her one night and then, found a better looking girl and never called her back. But to her, that's a travesty. And he's to pay for it. You see what I mean? That's what happened, okay? That's what this that's why she wrote this shit, okay? Is to get back at the guy that pumped and dumped her. Or maybe it's a number of guys that have pumped and dumped her, that's the thing about high value men and high value women. Okay, there's some differences. Okay, a high value man will fuck an average looking girl if he's bored, or if he it's there. She wants to fuck him. All right, why not? Let's do it. Okay, but a high value woman will not fuck an average guy. You see what I mean? Because she knows that would make her feel less about herself. You see what I mean? I'm talking about the real high value. I'm not talking about the women that are 5s and 6s, okay, and they fucked, a 3 because they were drunk or some shit, and now they regret it and they don't want anyone to know. I'm not talking about those, okay? I'm talking about the women that are high value, okay? The super good looking women, okay? The ones that don't have an enormous body count, okay? The ones that actually like men, okay? I'm talking about them, okay? You're never going to see them in these movies, okay? Okay? A woman who will let a man take care of her, okay? She's not there to fucking castrate him, okay, emasculate him and tell him he's a piece of shit. She actually likes him and wants to bolster him and help him. Those are 10s, okay, and they look incredible to go with it. Those are 10s, okay. A woman like that is not going to give up her self-respect to be with a low-value man, okay. She's not going to do that. She's not going to go and just date a 5 for fuck's sake, okay. No, she's not going to do that, okay, because she feels she deserves better, okay. Like I said, that's a high value woman. She doesn't need to, okay? Because the only men that ask her out are men that are 8, 9s, and 10s. Okay, so she doesn't have to do that. Okay, whereas a high value man, yeah, it might be a slow Tuesday. This girl, okay, she's decent looking. Yeah, what the hell? I'll fuck her. That's it. That's it. That's all it is. It's never going to be anything else. But now this woman, this average looking woman, okay, all of a sudden now she's got delusions of grandeur. Now she thinks she's freaking Heidi Klum or some shit, you know? Now she thinks she's a fucking supermodel, okay? And now she's upset. She not only has her standards gone way up, now she's only going to date men that are 10s, okay? But she's also pissed off. She's pissed off because it wasn't true. She thought that by fucking a 10, it automatically made her a 10. It didn't. She's still a 5. She's still a 5. She's a 5 with delusions of grandeur. Now, I said 5 because what is half of 10? 5, right? Which means that's average. Not ugly, but not drop dead gorgeous either. That's average. And most of you women are average, okay? But you expect us to treat you like you're 10s. You expect to be dating only men that are 10s. You think that's what you deserve. Because that's what all the media, mainstream media marketing and the TV shows and the movies like this piece of shit and the books like this piece of shit book that this movie's based on, they tell you that. And so you think it's what you deserve. You don't have to do anything, okay? But you just deserve the best, okay? Get the fuck over yourself. Get the fuck over yourself. Us average men deal with this shit every fucking day and we don't fucking cry about it. Okay? Most of us know where we are in the sexual hierarchy. Okay? We know. Okay? We don't try to pretend that we're something else. You see what I mean? But you women are fucking delusional because you believe. You believe all this crap. Okay? All these products, okay? All this marketing. They keep telling you that you're a fucking queen. You're a queen. You deserve this $500 makeup. Okay? You deserve this $600 hairspray because you're a queen. You see what I mean? Because they're trying to sell you shit and you believe it. What the whole fucking plastic surgery industry is all dependent on 90% women. For Christ's sake. So don't tell me that you're not insecure. You most definitely are. And you spend all your money on shit so you can maintain your attractiveness. And it's pathetic. It's pathetic. It's pathetic growing up watching these women from the 90s that were so fucking beautiful. I used to look at them, oh God, I only wish a girl that looks like her would go out with me. You know? And then fucking now, I look better than them. What the fuck happened? I remember when Melanie Griffith was fucking sexy. I remember when Madonna was fucking gorgeous. I remember when Goldie Hawn, okay, was beautiful. I remember when Brooke Shields was hot. Okay? I remember when Courtney Cox was fucking cute. You see what I mean? I remember. Now, Meg Ryan was fucking... I just watched a movie with my son the other day, Inner Space. That came out in the late 80s. I saw that when I was a kid. It's a funny movie, right? Okay, she was in that. She was cute in that. She was beautiful in that movie. Meg Ryan. Now look at her now. What the fuck happened? What the fuck happened? Look what they did in order to make themselves, not age. To arrest the aging process, they ruined their faces. Like, what the fuck, man? So don't tell me that women are all strong, tough, and independent and don't need no man, because you wouldn't do this to yourselves if you really felt that way. You see what I mean? And it's shit like this, okay? Like the Housemaid, okay? Like this fucking movie that I'm reviewing here, that are part of the problem. You think Sydney Sweeney's gonna be sexy forever? She's not. She's not. Okay? In 20 years, she's gonna have her fucking face done too, and she's gonna look like shit. And then we're gonna be talking about her. I remember her from 2025 when she looked really good. You see what I mean? And it's sad. It's sad. And you young women out there that watch this crap and you look up to women like Sydney Sweeney, oh, I want to be like her. Okay? No, you don't. You don't, okay? But you're too young. You're not going to know. You're not going to know until you get to be my age. You're not going to realize that. And I know that. You're not going to believe anything that I say. Nothing ever happened. The universe didn't exist until you were born, right? Like, we haven't seen, like me, you know, people my age haven't seen shit like this over and over again throughout our entire lives, and we all know how it ends up, okay? And I would rather end up average looking and happy, okay, than end up rich and deluded, okay, and with a fucked up face. Because I spent my whole fucking youth trying to prove to everyone that I didn't need anyone. And now I'm all fucking alone. You see what I mean? It's sad. It's really sad. Okay, so let's get into this movie here. Okay, where we left off last time. Okay, we're talking about Nina now. We're going into her backstory. Okay, how she became this psycho bitch that was making Millie, the housemaid's life, a living hell. Okay, what do you call it? She marries Andrew because she's a single mom. Now, when she was going to law school, I guess she never graduated law school. Well, she was going to law school, she fucked her professor and got pregnant. Well, the professor wanted, he was married, by the way. He wanted nothing to do with her or the baby. Bullshit, right? Doesn't matter whether he wants anything to do with them or not. Okay, you can still sue him. Okay, you do a DNA test, okay? You can sue him for child support. I know he's a freaking law school professor, okay? Okay, but his wife, the school's going to find out about it. You report it to the school. They have to do an investigation. They're going to find out it's true. He's going to lose his tenure. He's going to get fired because you can't be fucking your students, okay? Because he's in a position of power over you. So he can't do that. He's going to lose. There's going to be a scandal. His wife's going to fucking leave him. He's going to have to pay out the ass for this fucking bastard kid that you're giving birth to. He's going to lose his tenure at the university. There's a lot of bad shit could happen to him, but the movie doesn't even go there. Okay? It's just a throwaway line. He wants nothing to do with me or the baby, and that's it. Okay? She doesn't pursue child support. She doesn't try to sue the university. Okay? Because they're responsible too. They hired him. All she has to do is say that he coerced her and forced her. Okay, and boom, there's a lawsuit right there. She's gonna they're gonna settle out of court, and she's gonna make a shitload of money. She ain't gonna have to work. You see what I mean? But the movie doesn't even go there. Because the movie wants you to be a fucking idiot to watch this movie. So you don't think about things like this. Like shit like this can't happen in 2025 anymore. This movie just expects you to be stupid. So now we have to, because they want you to feel sorry for her. She's a single mom who's working, who's poor and broke. And, get the fuck out of here with that noise. Anyway, so she marries Andrew. He's a knight in shining armor. That's her words. He's rich. He's handsome. He's sexy. He's attractive. He's good looking. He's cute. All that kind of fucking shit. She falls in love with him. She says she waited 6 weeks to fuck him, but we know damn well she fucked him the first night. Okay? What do you call it? He asked her to marry him because, you know, that's what super good looking guy, you know, the Christian Greys of the world, that's what they do, okay? They fall in love with single moms, okay? And that's what he does. Supposedly he marries her. They have a beautiful house, blah, blah, blah. She's in love with him, wants to make him happy. He basically adopted her daughter to be his daughter. Okay, all this bullshit that single moms all dream about when they're playing with themselves in the middle of the night, okay, and eating Doritos, okay, and then all of a sudden he asks her one day, he tells her, hey, listen, you got your roots, okay, because he likes her to be blonde. She's a brunette, okay, but he wants her to be blonde. So he tells her, hey, listen, your brown roots are starting to show in your hair. You should really go do something about it. She said, oh, I made an appointment with the hairdresser. I'm going to get it done today. Don't worry about it, sweetheart. I love you so much. Well, guess what happens later on that night? She comes home and he's there and he looks at her hair and he's like, hey, I thought you were going to get your roots done. She goes, oh, yes. Well, you know, I got hung up with Cece, my daughter, blah, blah. We ended up being there too late. So I'm just going to reschedule that hair appointment. No big deal. I'll get it done tomorrow. And he's like, okay, you know what, sweetheart? I left some papers upstairs in that attic room, you know, the one that locks from the outside, the one that's soundproof and only has that one window that doesn't open, you know? I left some papers up there. Could you go up there and get them for me? She's like, no problem, sweetheart. And she runs up the stairs. Well, guess what? He locks her in there. And she thinks he's kidding. He's like, oh, is this a joke or something? He's like, no, it's not a joke. I wish it was. Okay? But you're going to have to start to understand some things here, Nina. That when I tell you to do something, you're going to have to learn how to do it, Nina. You know, that kind of shit, right? So, all that kind of bullshit here, okay? So basically, she thinks she's kidding, but he's not. Now, there's nothing in this attic room, okay? There's just a mattress there, a bed frame. There's like a cabinet, empty cabinets, okay? There's 3 bottles of water inside of a little mini fridge, and that's it. Nope, there's a bucket in the closet. There's no bathroom in there. The window does not open. Even if it did open, you can't fit through it, okay? There's no electricity in there, nothing, okay? And of course she didn't bring her cell phone in there, because if she had, everyone keeps their cell phone with them at all times, right? But she didn't bring hers with her upstairs, okay? Because we can't have that, right? All right, anyway, because that means that she could call for help. And we can't have that in the movie, right? So we have to make her an idiot. And you've got to be an idiot too to not realize that, okay? So of course, the shelves are empty, blah, blah, blah. He tells her, I'm disappointed. Your hair is a privilege and needs to be cared for. Do you have any idea how embarrassing it is to have your wife walking around town with her roots showing? I need you to do better for the both of us. That's what he tells her on the other side of the door, okay? Now, apparently this fuck had no problem with her tits lactating during a conference at a law firm. He had no problem with that, but he does have a problem with her roots starting to show, okay? When he first met her, she was this receptionist, secretary. She walked into a boardroom at the law firm she worked at, okay? And her nipples were lactating right through her blouse. It was very embarrassing. Her boss called her out on it. It was very embarrassing. That's how he met her, okay? He thought it was cute. He decided to ask her out, okay? But he had no problem with that, but he has a problem with her roots, her brown roots starting to show in her hair. Well, what's going to happen when her hair turns white, huh? Exactly. Okay, so Nina says, I told you I rescheduled my hair appointment. I'm going to get my roots fixed. Let me out. He's like, I will, but not yet. I need you to understand that there are consequences for your actions. What the fuck? Consequences in a chick flick? Are you out of your fucking mind? What do you think this is? The Sci-Fi Channel? Get the fuck out of here. Everyone knows goddamn well there are no consequences for women in these movies, and there are no consequences for women in real life either. So don't throw that word into these movies. I mean, that's like, that's like the main villain of every fucking chick flick is the word consequence. Because let's face it doesn't exist. We all know that. There are no consequences only for men. Only men must face the consequences. Everyone knows this. So don't try to put some of that bullshit in this movie. Only men pay for their mistakes. Women don't. We all know this. All right. So he slides her a little envelope under the door. Okay, and tells her that she needs to pluck exactly 100 hairs from her scalp with the roots intact. Exactly 100. Not one more, not one less. Okay? Then he wants to see all of the follicles afterwards. Okay, and then, after she's done that, then they can discuss her freedom. Oh. You hear that? There's something going on. Okay, anyway. So she panics, of course. She panics, okay, and she reaches. She doesn't know her husband. She realizes that she doesn't know her husband, okay? It's not a joke anymore. She's panicking. She's slamming the window and stuff, slamming the door, screaming his name. He's not going to let her out. Okay, now she's thinking, oh, what the fuck have I done? Okay, I do not know this man at all. I thought he was a nice guy. 6'2", hungry as shoe, filthy rich, ripped abs, square jaw, all that stuff. No, he's a monster. Okay? She doesn't know her husband at all. She's done nothing to deserve this. There's only 3 bottles of water in the little mini fridge. Okay, there's no food, no bathroom. Okay, and she regrets not staying a broke single mom. Okay, she starts thinking, while she's locked in there, she starts thinking about, oh my God, life was so much better when I was a poor single mom struggling to take care of my baby with one income. Before this guy showed up, all right? And to that, I'm going to raise the bullshit flag. Like I said a little while ago, she could have sued the professor, the one that got her pregnant. She could have sued him. Okay, there would have been a scandal, absolutely, but she would have gotten child support. Okay, and she could have sued the university, right, for exposing her to this environment. Okay, he probably would have been, convicted. They would have done a DNA test, okay, to see if it's true. Okay, if this guy really did impregnate her, all she has to do is say that he raped her or something, or that he assaulted her, or he coerced her to do it. He would have given her a failing grade if she didn't. That's all she has to do. Okay? Remember, this guy's an asshole. Remember, he wants nothing to do with her, the baby. Oh, really? This is your baby too, so you're gonna fucking pay me to take care of this fucking baby. You see what I mean? She could have done that. Any woman would have done that. You would have done that. But this movie expects you to believe that Nina would not do that. Like she was a helpless victim. She had no agency. See what I mean? That's a load of shit. It's not like she got pregnant by some fucking unemployed fucking drug dealer living in his mom's basement. Okay? She got impregnated by a fucking rich fucking law professor, for Christ's sake. Married law professor. So Nina rules out, she pulls out her follicles. She does what Andrew said. She's desperate. She got to get out of there. Okay? And she does it in the middle of the night under moonlight. Now, what the fuck? There's only one window in there, which means that there must have been a super bright full moon, because you can clearly see her pulling out her hair follicles and examining them with her own eyes to make sure that the brown roots clearly show. Okay, you see what I mean? In the middle of the night by moonlight, because there's no electricity in the room, no candles, no nothing. Okay? But yet it's bright enough for her to see herself pull out the follicles. Okay? What the fuck? Okay, yes. So Andrew slips another envelope later on. Okay, he tells her that one of her follicles is unacceptable because the brown root was not showing. So she needs to start all over again. So we see her pulling out her follicle. She's like, "Oh God damn it! Oh God! Oh God!" Over and over again. This is like, who wants to see this shit? I know the point of this is to make you feel sorry for her, to get angry about her situation, so that you'll want to do something bad to him. I get it. But this is just ridiculous. And the fact she's doing it in the middle of the night, by moonlight or whatever light is coming through that window, it's bright enough that she can do this. So get the fuck out of here. All right? Anyway, so he tells her that's unacceptable, so she has to start all over again, all right? Well, the next day, she's passed out on the floor, okay, and all of a sudden he shows up, well-dressed and everything, with a bottle of water, because she must be thirsty by now. She's probably been in there for a few days, okay? No bathroom, 3 bottles of water. I'm sure she drank them all by now. No food, no electricity, no nothing, right? So he shows up, well-dressed with a bottle of water. He wakes her up, lets her drink the water. She starts drinking that water like crazy, so obviously she was very thirsty, okay? And he tells her that this was all for her own good, okay? He says, "Listen, if you let me, sweetheart, I can help you to be a much better woman." Well, once she fucking chugs down that water, she pushes him away, gets up and runs downstairs, okay, to go see her daughter. Okay, she hasn't seen her daughter in a few days, or however long she was in there. Okay, so she runs downstairs to the dollhouse room, okay? That's where they have that big dollhouse that her daughter Cece plays with, all right? So she does that, okay? She runs downstairs to see her daughter, and then realizes, while she's there hugging her daughter, she realizes, she gets all dizzy and shit. And she realizes that the water she just drank was drugged. It was drugged with something. So now she starts to lose consciousness again. All right, in front of her daughter. That's the worst part. Okay, because her daughter sees her mom. Her daughter looks like she's maybe 4 years old or something. Maybe 3 or 4 years old. It's not the 7-year-old girl that we see in the movie. This is her when she's younger. So it's like a 3 or 4 year old girl, and she's just like, and her mom's just like, to see that happen, to be a young girl and see your mom that happening to your mom, it's got to be pretty fucking traumatizing. All right, so I will say that was pretty fucking scary because I'm a parent. That's pretty fucking scary. So that's going on. So she realizes it was drugged and she passes out on the floor right there in the dollhouse room. Okay, in the daytime. Next scene, she wakes up in the same position, passed out on the floor in the dollhouse room, but it's nighttime now. Okay, she's still trying to get her senses together. And we hear a faucet running, like a bathtub faucet running. Now, I don't understand how the fuck that could happen, because it's running pretty well. Okay? And by that reckoning, the bathtub that we see here, the water pouring out at that speed, I'm guessing if they just turn it on, it's probably going to take about 20, 25 minutes for that bathtub to fill up. Okay? Maybe 15. Okay? Something like that, okay? Maybe not even that long. Maybe 12 minutes. I don't know for sure. But it wouldn't be that long, okay? But the water's filling up. And she can hear that. Okay, Nina can hear that. So she starts stumbling over because she's thinking about her daughter. Her daughter's not in the room with her. She's trying to find her daughter, and she hears the bathtub, and the first thought that she has is, oh my God, what if my daughter's in the bathtub and that water's running? So she starts stumbling her way through the house in the dark to get to the bathroom where the bathtub is, okay? So she's there, okay? She walks through there, okay? She heads towards the water running from the bathtub faucet, okay? And she stumbles over there and finds her daughter in there, clothed. Her daughter's clothed. Her daughter's in there at the exact moment she goes to the bathtub. It's filling up with water. She sees her daughter laying there in the bathtub, fully clothed. She freaks out. She grabs her daughter. At that exact same moment, a bunch of cops run in the room and grab her. It's the same two cops you've seen from this movie, okay? The ones that caught Millie sleeping in her car, the ones that arrested Millie at the grocery store. It's the same fucking two cops, the black guy and the white guy. Okay, the white guy's got the mustache, okay? Or he might be Mexican, I don't fucking know. Right, anyway, they grab her, and the other cop grabs the little girl and holds her like she's, like that, right? Now, I thought that maybe Andrew was in the room, because obviously he's the one that turned the water on, right? No, apparently Andrew was somewhere else, because he's not even in the house. So the montage shows you that she tried to save her daughter. The cops immediately think that she tried to drown her daughter, and because she was drugged, she's still feeling the lingering effects of being doped up, that she tried to kill herself too. She tried to kill her daughter, then kill herself. That's the story, okay? And while there's the paramedics are there, they got the stretcher. They're taking Cece to the hospital in a stretcher, okay? And the cops are like holding Nina back. And all of a sudden, Andrew shows up, gets out of his car, looks and sees what's happening, and he runs over to Cece, who's getting loaded into the ambulance. And then he turns over and he looks at his wife, Nina, and she's like, and he just looks at her like that. Like the evil psychopath that he is. Okay, because now the cops think that she tried to kill her daughter. You see what I mean? Now, what I don't fucking understand is if Nina was upstairs in the dollhouse room unconscious, who the fuck put Cece into the bathtub? Well, obviously it was Andrew who did it. So why didn't this 5-year-old, 4-year-old girl just get out of the bathtub and walk around the house and maybe look for her mom? Okay? Because Andrew was not there. He just showed up in his car. So if Andrew turned on the fucking water, by the time he left the house, the bathtub should have been full and Cece should have been dead. So how the fuck did Andrew know exactly what time fucking Nina was going to wake up and run to the bathroom? How did he know that? If he's not even fucking there. And if he's not there, how the hell did he turn the bathtub faucet on? If he's not there. Because if he did it and then he left, that little girl should already be drowned. The whole floor should be soaked. That water should be overflowing everywhere. You see what I mean? The movie doesn't explain it because it wants you to be a fucking idiot. I got nothing against the genre. Okay, I know it's a chick flick. It's not made for me. I get it. You ever wonder about that? You ever notice that? About these goddamn chick flicks? There's movies that are made specifically for women, chick flicks, but there's no such thing as movies that are made specifically for guys. Not really. Okay? Even the best guy movies, okay, they think about women too. Watching, okay? Look at all the fucking superhero movies, okay? Do you think the fucking superhero movies are mostly men? Young men who want to watch that shit, okay? Do you think we always got to see a shirtless fucking Captain America or a shirtless Thor because the men that spend their money on those movies want to see it? No, it's for the women. They're doing something, they're throwing a bone for the women because they want the women to come in too, not just the men. But the chick flicks, they give men nothing. Nothing. It's just for the women. You see what I mean? Okay. So that's going on here. Okay. Okay, the official story now is they think that she tried to drown her own child. Okay. The moment, the cops showed up exactly at the right time. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, Andrew arrives, like I said, as the paramedics are taking Cece away on the stretcher. The story is that Nina tried to kill her daughter and herself with pills. Okay, so they're trying to say that she gave herself pills. That's why she's all doped up, is because she tried to overdose on pills. Okay, Andrew smiles at Nina, like I said, that evil smile, because he knows that no one will believe her. Okay, and she goes to the nut house. They take her to the fucking psychiatric hospital. Okay, she goes there to the nut house. Okay. Nina says, no one will believe my husband was a sick, cruel monster. How could a man that handsome, successful, cute, well-loved, sexy, rich, attractive, confident, good-looking, well-hung, and fine be anything but a saint? Yes, somebody wrote this. Somebody wrote this. What's her name? I need to call her out again. I know I've done it before. Her name is Rebecca Sonnenschein, who wrote the Vampire Diaries TV show. She wrote this piece of shit script. Okay. So the shrinks at the hospital, they tell her that there's nothing in the house attic except for boxes and paper. So we see her locked up in the nut house. We see her in a room, in the corner, crouched in the corner with the empty bed right there, the bars through the windows and shit. And the doctor, her shrink, is telling her, listen, there was nothing upstairs in that attic except for boxes and paper. Well, so fucking what? How does that mean she wasn't locked up in there? You see what I mean? It makes no fucking sense. This doctor doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. And who would know what was in that fucking attic when she was locked up there? Her, who lives there, or the fucking doctor who's never fucking been in there? You see what I mean? This movie can't even fucking make up its own mind of what it's trying to convince you of. How does there being boxes and paper in an attic room that locks from the outside have anything to do with whether or not she was locked in there? It has nothing to do with it. All it means is that she was locked into the attic room with boxes and paper. So fucking what? He tells her that she's delusional, and he gives her all sorts of fucking antipsychotic and antidepressant drugs, whatever, okay? And she leaves the nut house with Andrew after 9 months. Yes, they locked her up in the nut house for 9 months, okay? And the only way she could get out is in therapy. She had to admit that, yes, I did try to kill my little girl, and I did try to kill myself. So that's the only way she could get out of the hospital, was by admitting that she did try to do those things, all right? And what do you do when you're in a nut house and you admit to the doctors, yes, I tried to murder my 4-year-old girl and I tried to kill myself as well? What do you do when you admit that? Simple. You release her and let her go back to raise that fucking little girl. See what I'm talking about here? I agreed to review this movie, though, didn't I? I did. All right. Well, I've had enough for now. I'll be back to continue my review of this piece of shit. I thank you very much for watching this long, and I'll see you soon on the next one. Bye.